done. Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.
In the words of Christian Horner, we're here to talk about a very fast, unemployed driver. Was this his best drive, do you think?
I mean, if you look at his wins, I mean, I couldn't watch the race, so I don't know whether it was his best. Unfortunately, the one race where I couldn't watch because of work, and we have a different winner. But I mean, not that I'm complaining about Max winning. Like I said before, I think what he's doing is brilliant. But it is pretty brilliant, even though it it sucks for you. But no. I mean, I did watch a lot of the highlights and stuff like that, and it looked pretty dominant, right? As soon as he got past Max for the lead, it seemed like there was no catching him. Charles couldn't, and he didn't look in any trouble. So, in terms of wins, if you look at the wins, Silverstone, he was under pressure for a while. I mean, he had to give the position to Charles at first, and then, once he got back off Charles, it wasn't too bad. Singapore, he was under all sorts of pressure. So in terms of dominant wins, this one is definitely, for him personally, he has three, but still, it was a very, very solid win for Carlos. Whether it's his best race or not, to be honest, I still can't. I don't know that because I couldn't watch it in its entirety. I can't really say that because even though Singapore was a lot of pressure, the way he handled that, it was incredible. The way he created that win for himself.
Yeah.
And I think for me that reason alone is good enough for that race to be his best race, just because of the way he created that win for himself. But in terms of dominance, yeah, for sure, I think Carlos will easily say that Australia was his best.
Yeah, I agree. I think Singapore tactically he was really good as well. In the way like you said, the way he created that win for himself. This win, I think, just given the circumstances, 16 days removed from
That is true. I mean, I
removing
forgot
the
to mention that.
appendix,
Exactly. Yes, you're right.
removing his appendix, coming back from surgery and then putting in an exceptional weekend and beating Charles Leclerc in qualifying, and maximizing that qualifying and turning it into a race win. Of course, you have to put in the caveat that Max Verstappen's brake didn't work, but he did it. He
No,
did
no.
overtake Verstappen on
Max's brake was working just all the time. That's the problem.
I yeah. To be honest, I think this is not like a shot on Carlos. I think, but I think if Verstappen's brake, if he didn't have the brake issue, most of us would have backed him to win the race. But that being said, I think Carlos maximized the opportunity, and he was. I think on the day you have to be fair, he was better than Charles Leclerc both in qualifying and in the race, and with track position he managed everything really well. And yeah, I think it was a really comfortable, very very dominant weekend from Sainz for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And it really is a shame, right, to say that he will be leaving Ferrari at the end of the season because he's had some great moments there and all those things, and him and Charles together they are very good and all that. And it's a shame. But I guess again, like a lot of people say, it's only because it's Lewis Hamilton that's coming in. And a lot of people are attacking Hamilton right now, saying, look at Hamilton, he's not doing anything. Sadly, the Mercedes is not that great as well. But it's only the case only because of the fact that Hamilton is coming in, that Sainz has to leave, unfortunately. But I still think, I mean, like everyone says, like he has to get a good seat, right? He's a very good driver. He might not have the outright pace of a Charles or a Max, but he still, like we said, he has the tactical awareness that
Yeah.
some drivers might not have, like the way he's able to manage those things as well. He calls his own strategies at times when Ferrari want to do something that's a bit, questionable. And
Yeah.
he has very good skill as a driver. So it really is a shame to see him leave Ferrari. But I guess he's doing his reputation no harm with the first two races. I mean, he didn't race in Saudi, and if he and he's just 12 points off the lead. And if he raced in Saudi by any chance, like the Ferraris were quick enough to be at least like 3 and 4. So you would guess if Sainz had no problems, he would have been at least P4, and he would have been leading the championship. But those are things you can't avoid, with health concerns and with the appendix and all that. It turns out the appendix is like quite a few F1 fans are mentioning the appendix. really throws not a spanner in the works, but it creates some interest in in Formula One. We had Alex's appendix go off 2 years ago. That is us in De Vries getting a seat, and that ends up with Lawson and Ricardo Lawson getting driven, and Ricardo come back to F1. So this time around with an appendix surgery, we have Sainz winning a race against the Red Bull, who looked with all due respect, I mean, with all everything considered, I mean, they had the brake issue, but still, to overtake the Red Bull and to get that win, that was really good.
Yeah, 100%. I think you touched on an interesting point there as well. I think the one thing about like Carlos, if I had to say what Carlos's best strength is, it's not like the raw pace of like a Max or a Charles or even Lewis, but it's that like tactical awareness and that racecraft that he has.
Racecraft, that's the word, yeah.
Racecraft and just the awareness of what to do and not to just follow team orders. He makes his own decisions and he sort of makes his own luck in races, and it's really interesting to see because it's
what you want Charles to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real contrast from the way Charles drives, right? Because once again, I always try to hype up Leclerc. So I'm trying to contain myself, but I think we would agree that if you take like Bahrain 2022 or races like that, if the car is bang on point, I think most people would just back Leclerc to beat Sainz. But when the car is not at its best and when you're not figuring everything out, I think there are certain times where Sainz has the advantage where he just makes the best use of what's available.
Yeah.
And I think Ferrari will really miss that next year. I'm sure there's going to be Grand Prix where they think, oh shit, we should have had Carlos this race.
What you said there exactly, where when the car is bang on point, it's Charles. When it's not, it's Sainz. Yeah. That is exactly a recap of the 2023 season. Because if we look at the results, Charles had 6 podiums, Carlos had 3. The 6 podiums, the Ferrari was fast. I mean, at least for 4 or 5 of them. The Ferrari was fast. And in those cases, Charles was able to create, good results. But those the 3 podiums that Carlos got, I mean, the Ferrari was fast in Monza. It was decent, and obviously the win was there. But if you look at Sainz, he has only 3 podiums. But if you look at the results, Sainz has much more consistency than Leclerc. Like if you take Baku was just ahead of Miami, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Miami was just after Baku. And in Baku, Charles had an incredible performance and he was P3. And in Miami, he was P9. He was struggling to overtake a Haas. So when the car is not as good, Sainz just seems to be getting out better results, which is, I know, it's just the way it is. And like we said before the episode, that's why I think both of us feel that Charles and Carlos, they complement each other very well in terms of their skills. But they need both of them to have success, have both cars in the front and all that, for Ferrari to have success this season. And one thing for Sainz, something I noticed that he's also when we talk about bad luck, we always talk about Charles, because I feel like his moments of bad luck are much more grand and more heartbreaking. If you take for France 2022 or Brazil 23, the formation lap, or exactly, those are you feel like wins have been thrown away and stuff like that. But if you look at Sainz, always starting from 2022, right, with the regulation change, because 2021 they were equals. Okay, Carlos beat Charles in the standings, but that was more, they were neck and neck, and it was in 2021 Abu Dhabi where Carlos got the podium and Charles 8 or 9. That's why there was a massive difference, right? And that helped him to peep Charles to the to 5th in the championship. But if you take 2022 onwards, Carlos struggled at the start to get to grips with the car, but he was slowly building confidence. And every time he went on a run, something unfortunate would happen and it would halt his run. If you take Canada 2022, he got the 2nd place just behind Max. He was chasing Max the whole way. One in Silverstone. In Austria where Charles was much quicker. Ferrari were much quicker. Carlos was catching Max, and then his engine blew. And then you have those start-stop things happening over and over again. You had the thing where he was building confidence. Then in the US, he got pole and then gets taken out by George. Similarly, in 2023, he has a good race in Austria, but then the penalty ruins his race. And then he builds confidence along the way. And towards the end of the season, when Ferrari were good enough to be 2nd, they have that whole thing in Las Vegas where the train cover comes off and hits Carlos and they lose points. So I hope at least for this season, in his final season, he doesn't have that kind of bad luck because he has shown that he's still one of those top drivers and he deserves a seat. I hope he finds a good place where he can show his skills.
Yeah, 100%. It's almost unfortunate because if this is the year that Ferrari figures it out, and then if next year is there like the year where they're really fast, I would have honestly loved to see like Leclerc and Sainz go head to head across the season to see what happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, speaking of destinations where Sainz could go, where the team principal has already, said the words that I started this episode with, a very
Yeah.
fast unemployed driver. We did have Red Bull, not their best weekend, obviously. Max having the brake issue. Which
Don't
was
worry, guys, don't worry. I know you're all excited, but trust me, I put a tweet out on this as well. Like every year for the past 3 years, the race before Japan, like Max has had issues. He has gone to Japan and destroyed everyone. 2022, he won by 23 seconds in a 27-lap race, which is ridiculous. And last year also, he was like, on another level. So don't worry, he'll probably win by at least a minute. I'm joking, not a minute, but he'll be up there.
Japan is quite a higher deck
Yeah.
track. So watch the Red Bull absolutely
Destroy.
just watch what happens in the race.
Yes.
So,
That's what we would come to expect from Red Bull. Who knows? Maybe they have issues off track. Maybe that might slowly start trickling down into the racetrack as well. Who knows? But they seem to be pretty solid. Max. Let's be honest. Like even with Max's issue, he was catching Carlos after he got past. It was just that at one point the tires got shredded, and that's
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Nothing taking nothing away from Carlos. It was incredible, an incredible drive. It has to be said.
Definitely. He made the most of the opportunity, but talking about not making most of the opportunity, I think very the other side of the Red Bull garage, Sergio Perez. We spoke about this last week. What you expect from Perez is obviously when Max is winning, comes second. He did that last week, last race. When Max has a problem, you do expect the fastest car on the grid to win.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And I personally think that this stems quite a bit from what's a nice way to put it? He's just not a very good qualifier, right? Like it's clear now, and I think it ends up that he always has to play catch up, and Australia is not a track where you can catch up a lot as well because just how much track position is important, and you can't stay behind the car for long. So what do you think of Perez just coming into this? What do you think of his performance, and what do you think just going forward?
Well, to be fair, he just got unlucky with the penalty. I think. It's still a criticism because either he needs to know. It's not really entirely his fault as well. The team needs to get on it and get out of the way. He beat Hulkenberg on a flying lap, so that's down to the team, 100%. And that's just an accepted punishment you have to take. If you impede someone on a race, you're going to get a penalty. So, and I'm not trying to defend Perez here. People might feel like I'm defending Perez, but he also had a case of he had taken gone past Alonso, he had got a tear off under the floor, and basically he had lost a lot of performance. Not a lot, but quite a bit of performance. So he was struggling. But yeah, it doesn't change from the fact that this was the race for him to get a win because he had to get a win because he has the strongest car. Yes, Ferrari was strong for sure, but it's a case of if Max is not winning, you have to win because you need to get most points because that will assure your seat. He might get sympathy for the fact that he had lost performance and all those things. But yeah, it's a missed opportunity. I will say that it is a missed opportunity for sure.
Yeah, I think I feel like this will be a very interesting season because for one thing, there is a lot of talk around the Red Bull seat next year.
Yeah.
And I think the field, I'm not saying that the field is close. The field is not that the other cars are as good as Red Bull, but the field seems a little bit closer this year because
it certainly is, right? You look at qualifying. I couldn't watch again Aussie qualifying because I had to go to work. But if you look at Bahrain and Saudi, the cars are all in between a second of each other, right? It's pretty close. That's impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's closer than last year. And last year, I think Red Bull had I mean, you can't really argue that they had one of the best cars in the history of F1, right? Last year. So the car was very fast, and Perez was able to get pole and Perez was able to win races. But this year,
It's
when
hard.
I mean,
You want Perez to do it. I'm joking. Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
right. You're right.
obviously, I'm not trying to, diss Perez, but I mean, this year I feel like it's going to be a tougher task for him, unless of course Red Bull do develop and then the car they take it to another level.
The thing
Uh,
is, the car is still another level, right?
yeah,
It's still
it
still
is
on.
another.
I think
Yeah,
I think people. I mean, it's good. It was great to have that from Ferrari, but I think the Red Bull is. And this
yeah,
is
it
me
is.
talking. I've been like blowing this horn trump. Sorry, I messed it up. Blowing this trumpet on the fact that
Yeah,
the Ferrari
I
is still that car that can beat. But don't. I mean, I'm not telling you. I'm just saying like don't
yeah,
forget the fact that the Red Bull is still the benchmark. I would say like yes, the Ferrari can beat the Red Bull. I will still stand by this that if they can sort the tire rigs and stuff, which they have done quite well so far. But still, like Bahrain was 20 seconds, and Bahrain was 20 seconds, and Saudi was like what 10, 12. So yeah,
yeah.
but yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, definitely. I think this year it'll be a lot more. I feel like he did get podiums last year and he was quite competitive last year. He was supposedly in the championship,
For
in
the
the
first five
title
races, yes.
supposedly. Um, I think that I don't know. I mean, obviously I can't speak for what Perez's psychology, what his thought process is, but I think he's resigned himself that he's not in the championship with Max now. I
I mean, I
feel
think
like
that
just
would be better for him to be honest,
yeah,
because I think the championship pressure really ended up
yeah,
not too good
yeah,
for him.
not too good for him. And I think Max himself like sort of stepped it up when Perez was maybe putting the pressure on him and he couldn't compete with it. But uh, I don't know. I think just given my prediction, this could be like I said a knee-jerk reaction. But my early prediction for this season is I think there's a very very high chance that Carlos Sainz gets that Red Bull seat. Uh, you never know because Red Bull, it's very tumultuous in terms of like what's going on with the team night right now. We don't know if Helmut Marko will be there. We don't know if Christian Horner will be there. We supposedly don't know if Max will be there. I think he
That is
will be.
crazy.
I think he will be, but I think there's a really good chance that Sainz goes there because whether he can beat Max or not, I think he will be going there with the idea of winning a drivers' championship. I'm
For
pretty
sure.
sure. I think he seems like a very ambitious driver anyway, so I'm sure he believes he can beat Max. So I have a very strong feeling that if Perez doesn't if Perez uh, doesn't perform, I think Sainz could go there. But where do you think the most likely place Sainz goes?
I
If you
mean,
could make,
I was fully into the fact that fully into the whole Audi story for as well because of his connections. His father, sorry, Carlos Sainz Senior, who has connections with Audi and whatever.
you think he
And
takes a year off?
I don't think that will be good. I think because you're not really guaranteed anything. No matter how
Yeah,
good you are as a driver, you take 1 year off, like, and suddenly they're like, "Oh, sorry, the grid is full. There's no spot for you." I don't think he should do that for sure. You should get a seat somewhere. But the Red Bull seat sounds. I mean, it's not far fetched at all to say that he might go to Red Bull because I mean, Checo is still not like cemented his spot. He's just had 2 races and he's had 3 races, 2 podiums, one fifth place finish. Yeah, but with the whole Max thing as well, which is crazy. I mean, especially when the whole Max to Mercedes rumors came out, like that was very interesting to say the least. But I still think Max will stay. I really doubt he'll go. Like, why would you want to go away from the championship winning car? Cut to he has moved to Mercedes, but no, no. But yeah, I agree. Sainz to Red Bull will be very interesting. It will be round two, Max versus Sainz, Max versus Carlos. The first time round, it was Max clearly dominated him, but now Carlos is also a much better driver. The only thing I would see is the fact that you're always talking about the fact that this car is built around Max. How fast he would take to adapting to that car, that only time will tell if
yeah.
he moves there. We've
That's
seen
a
that because when you look at 2022 at the start, he didn't really like how the car was, and that was very suited to how Charles wanted it to be. So that's the only caveat, I would say. But yeah, it still would be interesting because that after some time he will get used to it, and he will have his input on how things want to be and all those things. So yeah, it will be a very, very interesting battle if it is Sainz versus Verstappen round two. Well, it could go just like round one and Max could dominate again, but Sainz is a much more experienced driver now. And he's in his prime, so it could be interesting. But yeah, I think enough praise on Sainz because Kavinka is going to start shouting at us, saying, "Why do you take so much time to talk?" No, I'm joking. But yeah, incredible drive from Sainz. There's nothing much to say. Like hopefully it continues, and hopefully we'll have some more battles with Ferrari and Red Bull, who seem to be the front runners for now. But moving to a team who expected to be front runners and now are currently like running out of fuel or not running at all, uh, is Mercedes. Um, I'm not surprised. Sorry, I put a message on the group. I seem to be very good at prophesizing these things, but during testing, I put a message saying Mercedes don't seem to be, that convincing. Of course, they were solid. They did their run plans and whatever, but I don't know. For some reason, I just felt like they weren't really convincing. But then F1 TV had an interview with James Allison, who is the technical director, who is coming back, in fact. And he was talking about being very optimistic, and the journalists and interviewers, they were all talking about the fact that Mercedes seemed to be very silently optimistic. There was a lot of correlation between simulations and the on-track data that they had received. There was massive talk about their front wing, the new front wing which they had brought in, and all those kind of things. They were analyzing it, all those kind of things. And 3 races in, and it's been something of a disaster show for Mercedes. I would say George has been a bit more solid. Like he had a good result in Bahrain. I can't remember where he finished 6th in Saudi, which is again not bad. And then he had the crash. Yeah, 5th in Bahrain, 6th in Saudi. He qualified P3, which was not too bad in Bahrain as well. Lewis, on the other hand, has had like 3 races to forget, more like simply speaking.
And then and DNF. So.
Yeah, exactly, and he's behind Stroll also in the championship. So, what's your take on this Mercedes thing? Like,
I mean, it's what we've seen for like the past 3 seasons, right? I mean, 2 or 2.5 seasons. I think fundamentally something is missing from this car, and I just feel like whatever their simulations that they've been running, it's not been able to match what the correct thing, that the correct effect of the ground, of what this ground effect data is trying to achieve. And I think obviously coming from a team that has been so successful for so long, I think a very interesting point with Merck is they always have this no blame culture, right? Like especially when they were winning races, even if something goes wrong, it was like, well, no blame culture. Like they wouldn't blame anybody. It's it just happens in a race. But I don't know if that's really trickling down now to a point where they need to really go and have a look and see where the blame needs to be assigned. Because for Lewis to leave Merck at the start of the year and join Ferrari, he would have seen something in the simulation that made him go like, nope, I'm not doing this for another few more seasons, right? And he wanted to go to Ferrari because there's only 2 reasons he would go to Ferrari. Either he thought, okay, Ferrari and Merc are going to be similar, and then I just want to try something new, and neither of us are beating Max anyway. Or he thought Merc is just going backwards and this car is going to get worse. So I think it's one of the 2 thought processes that made him go there. And I think it's sort of showing, right? Like the timing of Lewis Hamilton's career is so interesting because he leaves McLaren in 2012 and then he joins Merc, and then the hybrid era comes and whatever. I mean, the rest is history in terms of that. And then now, if he's timing it correctly and he's joining Ferrari, and if they do have the fastest car, maybe it's 8-time World Drivers' Championship. Or if you ask Merc, Lewis Hamilton,
9-time. And if you ask Felipe Massa, it'll be 7-time. So somehow it's always Hamilton's championship.
Yeah,
which is sad. No, yeah, but you're right. I mean, I think also one reason why he would have wanted to go there is the whole allure of Ferrari. most successful team, everyone's dream team. Everyone's a Ferrari fan, which is true. I mean, it was beautiful to see, right? I mean, whatever said and done, the Ferrari team singing the national anthem at Australia. It was a nice sight to see. But yeah, I mean, it is it seems to be worrying, but then again, it's Merc. We say this all the time. Maybe we should stop saying it, but
Yeah.
if anyone can sort it out, it's probably Merc. But yeah, it's a tough situation to be in, I guess, for all the teams. Um, why that?
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, not for all teams, for Merc. Sorry, I got put off by the message that Zoom sent saying we have only 10 minutes. But yeah, especially for Lewis, and
Yeah.
if I don't know whether you watched this episode, but it was on the High Performance podcast, which is a great show. Like James Bowles came on that, and he said, like he spoke about his time at Mercedes, and he spoke about how Lewis is always someone who's changing the setup. He's never satisfied. He always wants to find something better to make sure that he gets that time, and that always shows on track. I mean, if you look at George and Lewis, George sometimes qualifies higher because Lewis is always experimenting, whereas George is always stuck on one setup, not always stuck, but he has this one direction he would like to go. But and that's what Lewis said, in Bahrain as well. Like he didn't set up for qualifying, he set up for the race. But it didn't work because he ended up finishing what, seventh or eighth or whatever. And you have results going at this continuously. At one point, you probably got to say, uh, try and fix it. But how they fix it, I don't know. I don't know whether anyone has the answer for that. Or maybe they decide to resign to the fact that they are not going to be competitive this year and shift focus to next year. I know. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting to touch on the driver part as well because I mean, I don't think anyone is gonna really doubt Hamilton's driving capability. Certainly, I don't. I still think if he has a competitive car, he'll be a top driver. But I think he would want to go into Ferrari with a little bit of momentum. I don't think he would want to go into Ferrari after having like a horrible run of races. So, and for George, I think it's a bit more. I mean, I'm not saying it's comfortable. Obviously, he wants to win races as well. But I think this is going to be a really interesting season for Hamilton because if Sainz continues what he's doing, and if Hamilton doesn't have that performance,
They're going to
gonna
rip up his contract.
No, I don't think they're going to do that, but I think he would want to go into that seat with a bit of momentum, especially going up against a guy like Charles. So
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting. So, but I think we can move on from work and we
Yeah,
should.
we'll have to move on. We have only like 6 or 7 minutes remaining, and we can quickly touch on McLaren and Aston. I mean, nothing much to talk about. I mean, Aston and McLaren seem to be safely set where they are in terms of pace. McLaren, I think, will be a bit more happy with the fact that they are almost on and off, like more or less the third fastest car because of the Mercedes struggles, whatever. And I think these few races they need to like score as maximum because score maximum points as possible because it's supposed to be their most strongest tracks with the high speed corners. Especially Suzuka, they had a double podium last year. Lando is not expecting to have that much success this time around because of the fact that Ferrari have improved in their fast speed corners. But they still can be on for a good result, and they just need to maximize their points as well. Oscar and Lando are both driving really well. They got P3 and P4, which is really good. And Aston, they seem to be solid as well. They're not as fast as they were last year, but they have a solid base. They're not having too many problems. Alonso had a harsh penalty. I think everyone agrees on that, regardless of whether he braked or not. Maybe it was a bit early, but it was not warranting a penalty in everyone's opinion. But still, keeping that aside, they still seem to be solid. They would obviously like a bit more pace, but for now they seem solid. Maybe they can build on it. And finally, we just wanted to touch a bit on Haas because Ayao Komatsu, I pronounced that right? Anyway, Ayao Komatsu, he at the start of the season said that they were expecting to be plumb last, and Australia they ended up being double point scorers, and Saudi Hagenberg scored a point.
Yeah.
What's your take on Haas?
I mean, I think I don't want to say they're overperforming, but they're certainly doing better than most people expected, and it's very interesting because it sort of coincides with Gunther Steiner leaving,
Which is
because
kind of sad, but
yeah, I mean he left because obviously Gene Haas wanted him gone, and he left that he didn't want to I don't remember the exact quote, but something along the lines that he wanted to manage like a back marker team, right?
Yeah, he wanted more money from Haas, and Haas didn't want to give it. Haas as in Gene Haas, he didn't want to give that money. So
So
anyway,
it's such interesting time because either you can say that it's one because Steiner's left.
yeah,
I don't think that's the case, but I think he's left and now the team seems to be doing well. And yeah, and I think there's a really good chance I feel that Ollie Behrman will get Kevin Magnussen's seat next year.
yeah.
So if they do, I mean, it seems like it's a good car for him to really prove his worth. But yeah, very impressive from Haas over the first couple of races. We can see how it goes for them for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if Bowman gets in, if he probably get the seat, it's a good race. If they really said just like Ferrari, and I think that close relation with Ferrari helps the fact that Ferrari try to improve their race pace, and Haas by consequence have also done that. But and also I think one thing you have to make remember is, of course, yes, the retirements has helped as well. Hamilton, Russell, and Verstappen, but also these are points. These points positions are are mostly those. Um, yes, sorry, sorry, but uh, these points are the points usually what Alpine would fight for, right? Because their car was more or less the midfield car last year, as in like they were not fast enough to catch the leaders, but they were too fast for the back markers. So these were the points that Alpine would get unless they had a really good race, really good performance, or someone else had a bad point. So Alpine not being there, that kind of helped, and VCAB also they can fight for these points. They had Tsunoda had a great race. So it seems to be between these teams for now. I mean, so, between VCAB, Haas, and probably Williams at some time. But yeah, I mean, great performance for them. I think it will really boost their morale. I think that's it, basically. We'll hopefully see you guys next time around after Japan, after victory by at least a minute from Maxi Boy. And yeah, we can all say that Formula One has gone back to normal.